Ethan sees the same dream every night. On a rainy street, a man stands with his hands stained with blood. Each time he sees a little more detail. First distant, then close. One night the face comes into focus. It's his own face. Awake, he becomes obsessed with finding the place where the dream takes place. In his photographs, he realizes, without noticing at first, that he's been shooting the same spots as in the dream street. Reality begins to blur. Ethan sees a murder report in the newspaper. The image is exactly the same scene from his dream, an incident for which the police have not yet found a culprit. But in his dream, everything is clear. He was inside that scene. He sees his own reflection in the eyes of the man he saw in the dream. It is no longer a dream, it is a memory. He really committed the murder, but he does not remember it. Sometimes dreams do not show the future. They only whisper the crime you need to remember. Ambiance: very light rain, a distant city hum, a low-frequency pad in the background. Sometimes dreams do not foretell the future. They only whisper the truth you need to remember. I am Ethan. I'm 34. I've been taking photographs for years. Faces, streets, shadows trapped between walls. At night, when the lens closes, another door opens. At the threshold of sleep, the dark pulse of the city. Behind that door, the same dream waits for me. Rain, a wet sidewalk. A streetlight flickers. A man, his hands trembling. Between his fingers, a dark red trace mixed with water trickles down. Every time I move closer to see that man's face, but the image fogs up, as if my breath has misted a window. Then one night the fog clears, and that face is mine. The same ritual every night. At first I thought it was a coincidence. Sometimes your brain plays tricks, collects scraps of the day and turns them into a bedtime tale. But this tale steps on the same paving stone. Under the same lamp, the same shadow stretches out. I tried to break the dream into pieces, like enlarging a photograph. On the left corner, a grocery sign. Letters missing. Across the way, a flower pot on a window, a rotting geranium. On the right, a metal door, scratches on it, 2 dates written on top of each other. And each time I make out more details, as if someone inside me is collecting the scene like evidence. But the scariest thing, those hands. At the moment when the water rises to my ankles and my heart wedges in my throat, I see my hands. I thought I could escape this dream during the day. I said, I'll take pictures. Light changes, reality crushes darkness with its brightness. But light also has a shadow. That day, while shooting on a street in Nishantasha, I saw a reflection on the paving stones. There was no rain, but the texture of the stone resembled the road in the dream. I lowered the camera and looked around. A grocery, a sign with missing letters. Something inside me got up, as if from a chair it had been sitting in for a long time. I went into the shop. An old tape player was playing, a thin static. The man at the counter didn't look up. Yes, he said. That metal door? I asked, and at the end of the street. Are there scratches on it? The man looked at me for a moment as if he knew me. There are, he said. Why? I didn't answer. I hid my hands in my pockets, as if there was an invisible but heavy mark under my fingernails. At night, I took notes. When I woke from the dream before wiping the sweat, I drew it in my notebook. The angle of the streetlight, the scratches on the door, the color of the geranium in the window, dull brown. The notebook swelled, the pages like a file. I became the detective of my own dream. One night, the scene changed a little. The rain was harder. There was a distant siren, and on the ground, a broken glass bottle. The label is unreadable, but the shape sticks in my mind. The next day, I found the same street. In reality, too, a shard of a bottle, as if the dream and reality were breathing in sync. Coincidence, I told myself. The word wasn't convincing even in my own mouth. 2 days later, while I was drinking my morning coffee, a ticker ran across the TV. An adult male body was found on X Street at midnight. Images, yellow tape, police lights. For a moment, the camera showed the door at the end of the street, the scratches on it. My body was nailed to the chair. The streetlight from my dream flickered on the screen. I turned off the news. I walked to the window. The rain had started. Inside me, 2 sentences collided. I am not a murderer. What if I don't remember? I went to a therapist. Ethan, she said, if you're seeing the same scene over and over and the details are increasing, your mind might be playing a recording. So what is the recording? The past or the future? She smiled. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Time is also a dream to the mind. For me, it did matter. A man was dead. In my dream, I couldn't wash my hands. The therapist talked about past traumas, repressed memories, the possibility of dissociation. Don't stay sleep deprived, she said. Don't stay in the void. And don't run. That night, I didn't run. I waited for the dream. I walked under the lamp. The sound of the paving stones multiplied under my shoes. A shard of glass glittered at the tip of my foot. A drop of water slid from the faded letters of the label. This time, I changed the framing. I slipped to the side and approached the metal door. I counted the scratches with my finger. 2 dates, my voice echoed, one new, one old. A shadow appeared behind me. I didn't turn my head, but my heart recognized it. I knew this was a dream, but sometimes dreams also hide blood. Is it you? I said without turning. It's me, said the shadow. I heard its voice from my own mouth. In that moment, the dream didn't belong to me. I belonged to it. By day, I found a folder in the studio, title, Kuyu Street, Archive. Inside, a rainy night shoot. I had taken them. Date, 1 day before the murder. In the photos, a face, blurred, under the lamp shadow. In one frame, the blurred face seems to look at me. In another, the scratches on the metal door are sharp. Why had I shot them? For whom was I working? I looked at my planner. Note, anonymous project or to the city at night. No number, no name. Only an envelope. In the envelope, a key. On the end of the key, a metal tag, K12, K on Iki, Kuya Street on Iki. I clenched my jaw. I felt the cold shiver of standing in front of a door, even before I got there. I walked to Kuya Street. The rain had stopped, the sidewalk was wet. I slid the key into the door of number 12. Click. The sound inside the lock reminded me of the heartbeat in my dream. Inside was an empty workshop. Its smell, rust, paint, old paper, photos on the walls. Photos I had taken, but printed differently. On a table, a cassette player. On the cassette, it said, Remember, I pressed play. If you're listening to this, it means you've come back, Ethan. There was something I had to tell you. One night in the rain, someone fell to the ground. It wasn't you. It wasn't him either. It just happened. But the mind doesn't like emptiness. It needs a culprit. So we rebuilt the same scene again and again until we blame someone. And the easiest one to blame is you. The tape ended. The sentence knotted in my throat did not complete itself. I opened the drawer on the table. Inside, a broken glass bottle. Label, morphine sulfate, empty. Next to it, a photograph. Someone lying on the ground. The face isn't visible. On the back, a sentence. This wasn't a murder. There was an old woman across from the workshop. I noticed she was watching me from her window. I knocked on her door. At first she flinched, then looked at me for a long moment. "You came last week too," she said. "You were looking for something." "For what?" "For you." "Why?" "Because that night you weren't here," she said. "I mean, you were, but you weren't. Your hands were empty. When I looked outside, you were bending over the man on the ground, shouting, 'Breathe, breathe.' Was I helping?" "Yes," she said. "Before the police arrived, you ran off. You were scared. Blaming yourself was the easy way. So why did he die?" "As far as I know," she said, her voice trembling, "they found medicine in his pocket. Maybe it was too much. Maybe he was alone." The woman's eyes wiped away the fog of my dream. When I got home, I couldn't look at my notebook. The lines I had written for months felt like they had dragged me into a pit. The therapist's sentence echoed in my ear. "The mind may be playing a recording." Whose recording is this? Reality's or guilt's? I closed my eyes. This time I summoned the dream: lamp, rain, door, glass bottle. A man lying on the ground and me. I bent down beside him. This time I didn't hide my hands, my palms on the man's chest, trying to find a rhythm. "Hold on," I said. "Someone's coming." My knees got wet, not blood, rain. From outside, a siren, approaching footsteps. This time I didn't flee the scene. I kept my eyes on the one on the ground and waited. And for the first time, the dream didn't end. The scene didn't freeze. The mind held the last frame. While I was helping, a shadow ran up to us, a phone in hand, shouting, "Ambulance!" The dream exhaled, as if it had been waiting a long time for this breath. The next day I went to the police station. I told them the date of the incident, the street, the time, everything. "I was there," I said. "I tried to help. I ran. I was scared. I want to give my statement." The officer looked at the file. "There is a witness statement," he said. "An old woman. A young man was checking the pulse of the one on the ground," she wrote. Then he ran. "Cause of death? According to the medical examiner, drug and alcohol interaction. No definitive killer. Street camera is broken, but there's one more thing." "What?" "A key was found in the man's pocket. It said K12. The key belongs to an empty workshop, no registered owner. Inside there are photos of the city." My breath caught. "The photos," I said, "they're mine." The officer looked up. "Maybe you knew him," he said, "or maybe you were just chasing the same places." I fell silent. I went back to the workshop. I played the tape again. On the back of the photo it said, "This wasn't a murder." But I had seen the murder in my dream. Among the photos on the wall, there was one more frame I hadn't noticed. The man on the ground. This time his face was clear. He was a stranger. But beneath his eyes, I saw my sleeplessness. His hat was the old model I used to wear. In his jacket pocket, a film canister, the brand I used. For a moment, my reflection fell on the glass of the photo. My own face slid over his face. The two images merged. I understood. The dream wasn't trying to turn me into him. The dream was showing me the thin line between me and him. We were both photographing the city's shadow. Both had taken our share of the same loneliness, walked in the same rain. But at the point where our paths crossed, one of us fell. I was the witness to the fall, and witnessing can sometimes weigh as much as a crime. I went back to the therapist, and "The dream has changed," I said. "I no longer see myself running away, but staying." "Good," she said. "It means the mind is unfreezing the frame." and the guilt. Guilt is often a kind of ownership, she said. You take ownership, however meaningless, of something you couldn't control, because control is easier than pain. I smiled. For the first time, I heard the sound of rain in my dream, I said. Not just the image. The sound of rain, she said, is the present tense. The mind is now building a bridge between the past and today. I built it too. On the last night, I didn't knock on the dream's door. It didn't call me either. The city slept to its own rhythm. Again, that street, lamp, door, a shard of glass. But this time, no one is on the ground. The geranium is no longer dull brown. It has turned deep green. The scratches on the door remain. The dates no longer hurt my eyes, but I'm not hiding my hands. My palms are empty and clean. I heard a whisper mixed with the rain. Sometimes dreams do not tell the future. They only remind you of the truth you've forgotten. I lifted my head. The lamp's light was steady. This time the scene didn't freeze. It slowly faded to black. In the morning, I left a geranium on Caius Street. As I placed the pot on the windowsill, the old woman peeked through the curtain, then smiled. I gathered the photos in the workshop, put them in a chest. On the back of a frame, I wrote a thin sentence. Dreams are not the language of the night. They are the language of the soul. I slung my camera over my shoulder. The city was slowly turning on its light. I looked for a new street, but this time not to escape, to understand. I said, just close your eyes. Think of the streets of your own city, the stones whose names you don't know, yet pass every day. Maybe somewhere a frozen frame of your dream is still waiting. Solve it not by blaming, but by seeing. Take a deep breath and release it. Sometimes remembering is forgiveness, yourself, the shadows you witnessed, and the footprints left in the rain. Remember, dreams do not belong only to the night. They are the notes your soul writes to you. Do not stop reading them, even when you are awake. Dream Diaries presents Sometimes Remembering is the Punishment.